Hey, this is Jeff, and welcome back to Coito Ergo Sum, Let's Talk More Action, a series which is secretly a public service announcement for exercise and a healthy diet. Last week, Saffron told us about some pumps in an abandoned maintenance facility that might be related to the intermittent contamination in Pahrump's water supply. She also said there are ghouls in here, so we'll be a little bit careful. And this would be a perfect time for one of those hand-rolled cigarettes that give you night vision. I actually like these better than cat eye. The night vision effect isn't as strong, but it isn't monochrome, so you can still see colors. There's a light switch over here in this little break room, but a lot of the facility will still be dark. I like how these posters are slightly defaced. Employees are our greatest ass. Anyway, this switch lights up this bay. And over on the table, there are a couple of skill magazines, true police stories, fixin' things. If we take the catwalk over to the pod in the other bay, there's a light switch there too, which presumably controlled the lights in this bay. There's another switch for the lights in the pod, a little one right over here. But the big switch shorts out and electrocutes you. It doesn't do much damage. It's more of a jump scare. If you want to see it happen, you can watch the old walkthrough. But in hardcore mode, I'm not going to waste any more hit points than I have to. Take the catwalk down to the bay floor. I don't think there are any more ghouls. There's no way to get over there where that train is. It's just window dressing. Loot these ghouls. This bay where we turned the lights on has an enormous warehouse of cross ties, rails, stuff to keep the tracks and the tunnels repaired. But we want to take a look at the engineering area. Down here, there's a room filled with radioactive gas, a pool of highly irradiated water, and two ghouls in a locked cage in that corner. You can bypass it with some tricky jumping, which I did in the old walkthrough, but when we came back through, one of my companions shot at the ghouls, blew up the gas. It just wasn't very pretty. But if you can pick a hard lock, you can go around this way and get a much easier shot at the ghouls without detonating the gas. I can't believe I broke 2 lockpicks. If I had 100, I would have done that on the first try. Anyway, there are 2 clues about the radiation, either one of which is enough to advance the quest. One of them is in this office. Oh, come on. I'm not going to break a lockpick on an average lock. Good. There's some loot in here. Mentats. Vacuum tube. 5K4, that's not the one Coyote needs, but he'll still trade us for it. Programmer's Digest. And over here we have the maintenance facility manager's terminal. Status Report 1. Bullet train passed the full-speed safety tests with flying colors. Mr. Slater can put his shoes on at the ranch and be in L.A. 45 minutes later. Vegas in 20. Status Report 2. Sump engineer is reporting elevated groundwater radiation levels. I don't want to make wild accusations that might annoy the neighbors, but NWDS, Nevada Water Department something, has a facility nearby. I'd rather not have VIPs growing a third arm on the way to Vegas, so maybe Stoney could inquire discreetly to see if their inspection paperwork is up to date. That's almost certainly the toxic waste dump we saw last week. Oh, yeah, Nevada Waste Disposal Services, maybe. Status Report 3. Finally figured out how to get rid of that abandoned diesel taking up space in Bay 3. You're going to love this. BSE will buy it back for $35 million if we refurb and deliver. Maintenance crew is excited about a change of pace, volunteered to work weekends. I'm sure time and a half didn't hurt either, but for what BSE is paying, we can afford it. And since the Great War happened on a Saturday, that's probably who the Ghouls were. If some of the maintenance crew decided to stay down here as a sort of convenient accidental fallout shelter and then got mutated over time by the radiation in the water. Anyway, the door at the far end of the hall takes us down to the other side of the pump room. Well, the room with the radioactive gas trap. It's not actually the pump room. We'll see that in a minute. This is, I guess, where they collected all the water they drained from the tunnel so they could pump it back out. I can't see the other ghoul. Obviously, I don't want to shoot anything while I'm actually in the room, but maybe if I unlock the gate, it'll wander over to this side of the cage so I can get a shot from the hallway. Hand-rolled cigarette wore off, and just stepping into the radioactive area is the second clue for saffron. All right. Let's burn one. Oh, yeah, lighting up in a room full of flammable radioactive gas seems like a good idea. I don't know if it would really set it off, but I'm not testing it. Come out? No? Okay, plan B. Let's go back around and see if we can see him from the other side. Actually, we could just leave and tell Saffron what we found so far. And on the way out, I don't want to forget this. There's a unique melee weapon here where they were working on a big generator, the industrial wrench. It's not bad. It's better than a sledgehammer, not as good as a super sledge. Melee's not my thing, but it might be worth giving to the stag. And another vacuum tube. So I don't have to keep saying it. The one Coyote needs is a unique item that we'll find much later, but he will trade you some decent low to mid-level loot for any others that you find. You know what? If we talk to Saffron now, she's just going to send us back down here to kill the rest of the ghouls, so we might as well kill him now and save a trip. We're probably going to have to alert the one in the cage and get him to chase us out of the gas room so we can kill him without blowing ourselves up, but there are a couple back here that try to ambush you in the actual pump room. But with Sneak 100, who's ambushing who? All right. Sneak around here and open this gate. Oh, nice. I think the door might have pushed him over to where we can get him from the other side without baiting him out of the room. Kind of weird that being smacked in the ass with a cage door didn't alert him, but I'll take it. I hadn't really thought about it before, but I just kind of assumed that that whole room was set up the way it is to make dealing with it a little more of a challenge, but Belthan's stuff rarely has anything that's just arbitrary and contrived to be a pain in the ass. So like maybe those were the last two guys to turn feral and they locked themselves in to get away from the others, but then all they had to drink was that massively irradiated water, so they eventually turned too. Which completely sucks. Yeah, karma. The karma system isn't used nearly as much in New Vegas as it was in Fallout 3. Killing ferals is one of the very few things you can get to, give you positive karma. But I think putting those guys out of their misery probably qualifies. I mean, in Fallout 3, you get positive karma from killing raiders, I guess because they're evil, so you could play a complete scumbag and still be considered a saint if the raiders you killed and robbed outnumbered the innocent people you killed and robbed. They made it more balanced in New Vegas, but then it doesn't matter because everything is based on faction reputation, and your karma pretty much doesn't matter. Anyway, as long as we're here, we might as well explore the last little bit. And that door requires a key, but there's another one over here, which leads up to the pods on the opposite end of the bay from the break room. There's nothing up here related to sins of our ancestors, but it does make finishing Who Killed Fresca Coy a whole lot easier if you're in hardcore mode. We can get Larry's bullet train running again, which pretty much negates the dehydration danger from walking the tunnels. There's a master key, which unlocks any of the doors in the whole facility if you don't have any lockpick skill. And here we have a dispatch terminal. Line status. Most of the stations from LA to Vegas are unavailable, but Death Valley, Pahrump, and Mountain Springs are operational. Car status. There's only one car still running, and it's at Death Valley. I think that's new. I don't remember Enable Remote Dispatch being an option in 1.0. What's that do? Dispatch from remote terminals enabled. Huh. Maybe if you take the train somewhere and fast travel away, it lets you call it back to whichever station you're closest to. That would be cool. Anyway, we'll call the train to the Pahrump maintenance terminal now, since we'll be needing it later. All right, let's go tell Saffron what we found. And this gap, you can see the broken catwalk is tilted down on the other side, so you can't make the jump from that direction. But this side isn't, so you can. It's like a more subtle version of the convenient one-way exit doors at the end of a lot of dungeons in Skyrim and Fallout 4. I could smoke another hand-rolled cigarette, but there really isn't anything to see in these tunnels that's worth burning one. And they're a lot more rare in Coito Ergo Sum than they were in Quo Vadis. In fact, there might only be a finite amount. Yeah, there's a stash box in Fire and Rain's trailer. I'm not sure if it respawns. It probably does. And here's the bullet train. We don't need to use it now, but it'll be convenient to have it here later. Oh, no. What time is it? 10:30. Yeah, Saffron's in school. All right, well, let's go talk to Kikata.
Hello.
Things seem pretty relaxed around Pahrump. Don't you ever have conflicts?
There hasn't been a murder since before I was born, and not even a serious crime since a long time ago. But of course we have differences of opinion, personality clashes, occasionally even a brawl. Chula had a scuffle with Fire and Rain last autumn. Caused quite a stir.
I'm not a big fan of gossip.
And you'll hear none from me. I was just illustrating a point.
Who won?
No one, really. Fire and Rain is 2 meters tall with a reach you wouldn't believe. She just kept Chula at arm's length until everyone calmed down.
What was it about?
Healing powder, supposedly. But like most arguments that come to blows, it boiled down to politics and religion.
Why would they fight about healing powder?
Chula calls it organic chemistry. Fire and Rain calls it brewing potions. But they both make healing powder from the same ingredients. Those ingredients become scarce as the dry season goes on. Chula believes we should hoard our herbs and medicinal plants for emergencies. Fire and Rain believes that they make us more receptive to the spirit world, which she thinks is just as important as our physical needs.
So what did it have to do with religion?
Fire and Rain believes we are surrounded by invisible forces just beyond our perception. Chula doesn't believe in anything she can't measure. But the absence of proof isn't proof of absence. A debate that can't be won either way is fertile soil for an argument to grow.
What do you believe about religion?
Our ancestors, the original townspeople, had a number of religions. Christianity was the most common, but if there's still a pope, we haven't heard from him in over 200 years. With no central authority to denounce heresy, faith became sort of hybridized. Still, it's pretty hard to go wrong with treat people the way you'd want to be treated.
Can't argue with that. And what did it have to do with politics?
Our custom is to compete for sport and cooperate on everything else. If I wanted to be a blacksmith, I wouldn't set up my own shop. I'd become Coyote's apprentice. But they're the same age and they do the same thing. They each think the other is violating our custom.
What do you believe about politics?
I believe my people's taboo on competition could use an update. Because they compete, Fire and Rain can ignore impurities that would cause undesirable side effects. And Chula can't ignore the fact that not all side effects are undesirable. Everyone benefits.
Well, I'm glad your people have a few flaws. Perfection is a tough standard to live up to.
We all have flaws. The important thing is how we deal with them.
If you don't mind, I'd like to know more about you.
Me? I don't know. I work the farm. I hunt occasionally. I breed crops and other plants to improve yields and increase production of whatever makes them worth growing.
How do you decide what makes a particular plant worth growing?
Nutrients, medical compounds, sugar, spices. You know, sometimes just because they're pretty.
Have you ever been outside the valley?
Not since my coming of age ceremony.
Can you explain the coming of age ceremony?
It's our custom to prove that we're ready for the responsibilities of adulthood. It isn't terribly formal. Some of us do projects to improve things here in the valley, but a lot of us want to learn more about the outside world.
Where did you go?
I was just going to see what I could salvage from the northern ruins, but they've been picked pretty clean over the years. So I kept following the Blue Diamond. It goes all the way past Charleston Peak and comes out at a huge old world highway. There were signs of people, so I turned back. We try not to let outsiders know we're here.
Who else has been outside the valley?
Most of us, I think. The mayor mapped the desert. Brett climbed the mountain and saw the lights of Vegas. Can you imagine? Oh yeah, I guess you can.
I see. They test your initiative and reap practical benefits at the same time.
Yes, it's like discovering which plants prefer direct sunlight to shade.
How do you get your hair to stand up like that?
Cactus pulp. It stiffens when it dries. I leave the rind in to give it this color. Do you like it?
Definitely. It makes a statement.
Thanks. If you thought it was a waste of time, you wouldn't be alone.
Well, thanks for sharing.
No, thank you. Seeing my own life through an outsider's eyes makes things I take for granted seem more exotic somehow.
And you can ask her to pose for Lollipops magazine, but I think we'll wait until we know her a little better. But that does give me an idea how to kill some time until Saffron gets off work. I'll talk to you later.
See you soon.
We already shot Fire and Rain, so we'll probably make our first issue a tribal theme, and I bet I know somebody who'd be all kinds of excited about posing for a famous magazine.
Well, hello, stranger.
Would you like to pose for Lollipops magazine? You'd be like a pre-war supermodel.
Oh my, how cosmopolitan. I'd love to.
Now, some models, like Fire and Rain, can't or won't travel, so you do the photo shoot on site, but most of them teleport to the studio with you. It isn't technically fast travel, but time does pass, so don't do it if you have critical dehydration sickness or whatever. I just equipped the compact camera you get at the start of the quest. It absolutely isn't required. You can go down to the other end of the basement and stand in the workshop, and you still get credit for doing the photo shoot as long as the model is posing. The pictures for the magazine covers are all preset in the mod. It's not like you're actually taking real-time screenshots or anything. But hey, you're playing a magazine publisher, so it just feels more immersive if you snap away. All right, Saffron should be off work by now.
Hey, sugar.
Great shoot, Brett. See you later. Good. School's out.
Hey there!
Hey, Whitney. If I'd select the right quest in my log, I'd have a marker, but she usually works in the garden until dark. Not today. Oh, all right, there she is. They must have just gotten out.
Good afternoon.
Can we talk about the pumps in the maintenance terminal?
Of course.
The water in the sump is radioactive. The chief engineer suspected contamination.
That was before the war, so it must have come from the toxic waste dump in the canyon. I didn't see that part of the facility, but it can't be at the same depth as our wells.
Otherwise, the contamination would be constant, not intermittent.
Exactly, but by the same reasoning, it must be pumped back into the same layer it comes from. If not, once again, constant contamination.
Is there anything the pumps do differently every few years?
There shouldn't be. They work a little harder when it rains, but Coyote proved the spikes aren't correlated with rainfall. There were manual overrides for periodic maintenance, but nobody's done that for 200 years. Wait! That's it! With no one to manually backflush the filters, debris would accumulate until it triggers an emergency purge! That takes an enormous amount of water, more than they could pump back into the contaminated layer.
And the overflow ends up in your wells.
Yes, that has to be it. You're a genius.
All in a day's work.
This is a fantastic discovery. The question is, what can we do about it?
If someone did the scheduled maintenance, would the emergency purge still occur?
Probably not. Even in the worst case, the overflow would be small and predictable. There's just one little problem.
If you mean the ghouls, it's already taken care of.
All of them? You're sure? What am I saying? Of course you are. It's been a while since the last spike, so I'd better get started. If you, wanted to come along, I wouldn't mind the company.
And despite that sounding like an optional invitation, you have to escort her. Saffron? Well, that's weird. She usually outruns me. Oh, yeah. I have the perk that lets you run faster in light armor. Not light step. Travel light. She'll stop if you get too far away, so that makes this a little bit of a hassle. I mean, it's not a big deal, but if I didn't, I could use auto run, steer the mouse with one hand and drink with the other. Oh well. Saffron? It's like an 18-inch step. She's having all kinds of navigation issues today. I've never seen her get stuck like this. Okay. I'm not being fresh, don't chop my hand off with a machete or anything, but I'm going to have to give you a little push, and it might involve touching your butt. Well, didn't seem to mind being goosed, but it didn't help. Let's see how you feel about a body slam. Nope. Alright, sometimes companions will teleport to you if you get far enough away. I don't think she's technically a companion at this point, even a temporary one, but it's worth a shot. I guess worst case I could leave the level and maybe her position would reset when it reloads. No, she's not going to teleport to me. I guess we'll try reloading the level. Oh. Really? You know, in the last walkthrough, I made a comment about her being a genius because she found her way flawlessly back to the pump room after not having seen it for like 10 years. This time, not so much. And now she'll mess with the controls for a bit, so we just have to wait. Did I, loot those ghouls, the ambush ghouls back here? No, I did not. All right. There we go.
That's it. I just need to come down here every 3 months or so and backflush the filters. Come on, let's get back and tell everyone the good news.
And I don't think you have to wait for her on the way back. I'm pretty sure we can just go talk to 2 mole rats and she'll get there eventually. How's it going? Let's talk some more about the town's water supply. If you're thirsty, help yourself. We have plenty. There won't be any more rad spikes in the water. The problem is fixed. Today you have done a great service for the people who live in the valley. You have my thanks, and the thanks of all my neighbors. I couldn't have done it without Coyote and Saffron. Yes, I am proud of my brother and sister, and this will further increase the esteem in which they are held by the community. But the community would like to think of you, too, as our neighbor. What do you mean? The big house on the west side, south of the intersection, has been empty for some time. We would be honored if you would call it home. Or at least your vacation home. We understand that a jet-setter such as yourself has frequent obligations elsewhere. And that completes Sins of Our Ancestors. How's the holovid player coming? It's done. The hardest part turned out to be testing it. I had to use one of Saffron's romances. Oh boy. Let's talk about things for my house. It is kind of bare at the moment. We'd be happy to help you furnish it, but we weren't sure what kind of things you like. I want to set up a workshop. Then you should speak with Coyote. No one in the valley has better equipment or know-how. And how about some rugs and decorations to spruce the place up? Speak with Ichabod. His eye for design is matched only by his eye for the ladies. And I need furnishings. We really don't have anyone who specializes in that. Just let me know what you need and I'll find someone who can get it for you. How about display shelves? I'll ask Perry. If she doesn't have any in stock, I'm sure she'd be happy to build some for you. And other furnishings? What kind? A kitchen table and chairs. Do you have a favorite style? Not really. Well, we can try them out. They'll take them out and put new ones in if you ask. Let's start with a set that matches the countertops. I think we salvaged something like that from the diner. We'll bring it right over. That's all I need right now. My pleasure. All right, see you. Until we meet again. Okay, so obviously, as he just told us, the reward for completing that quest is a player home in Pahrump. And, I loved the manager's office in Quo Vadis. I wasn't a big fan of the manager's office in Lollipops in Coito Ergo Sum, the one, back over the hill. But I really like this house. So let's take a look. Oh, and you get a fast travel marker. There are the shelves that we just ordered. I don't know. Not really in love with the kitchen table, but might replace it with something else. Ooh, I need a drink. And the kitchen sink is rad-free water, so that's very cool. Let me go get a different table, and then we'll give you the rest of the tour. Let's talk about things for my house. Sure. What do you need? Furnishings? What kind? Let's change the table. Do you have a favorite style? Let's go with classy and elegant. I'll see what we can do. Hello, friend. 2 mole rats said I should talk to you about decorations for my house. You betcha. What do you need? Let's do something with the floors. Any thoughts as to style? I like tribal patterns. Handcrafted, nothing but the best.
I'll take them right over.
And the windows are a bit bare. Can you make me some curtains?
Seems to me windows are for looking out of, not for looking at. But to each his own. I'll whip something together.
That's all I need right now.
Come back any time.
True to his reputation, Ichabod's dialogue is a good bit more spicy if you're playing as a female character. Anyway, we might as well talk to Coyote while we're at it. I never would have guessed pre-war machinery under the mountain was causing the rad spikes. Nice work. I found a vacuum tube. Want to trade? Sure. What do the markings say? 2M60. Can never have too many of these. Thanks. And a 5K4. Haven't found one of these in a while. Thanks. Enough about vacuum tubes. Okay. If you find any more, I can always use them. 2 mole rats said you can help me with some things for my house. Absolutely. You solved a mystery that bugged me for years. Plus, it would be a nice break from fixing shovels. I need a workshop. I don't see how anybody could live without one. I'll set you up. I don't suppose you could hook up a terminal? Sure. I love fooling around with electronics, but I don't get many requests. The guy that owned your bar before the war also owned the tunnel, right? I'll see if I can tap into the network at the maintenance shed so you can check your email from home. Ever heard of a war dramatic? I have one at work, but I'd like one for the house. Yeah, I pulled one out of a boutique in the ruins a while back. The memory's wiped, but it'll download any patterns you already have. I was going to strip it for components, but boy, when they say no user serviceable parts inside, they mean it. Anyway, I'll hook it up for you, but you have to promise not to tell Ichabod. If it's not made by hand, he doesn't think it's worth wearing. Did you ever run across a jukebox while you were scavenging electronics? There used to be one in the saloon. I got it working, but then Brett made me take it out. Nobody else wants it, so it's just gathering dust. The tuner's shot beyond repair, but I can hardwire it to a specific frequency. We only get 2 stations out here anyway, so it's no big deal. Brett seems like she'd like a jukebox. Why'd she make you take it out? She was listening to Mr. New Vegas read the news and daydreaming about life in the big city. She let the fire under one of the stills go out, ruined a batch of ethanol, so she said the distraction had to go. Set it for Radio New Vegas. It should still be set for that. I'll check the calibration and take it over. I'm good, thanks. Anytime. See ya. If you have anything that needs fixing, I'll be around here somewhere. A lot of the house upgrades were added by updates to the mods, so if you started with 1.0, you didn't get them all at once like this. If you're just playing the current version, it seems like there'd be a timer, so you can only get 1 per day from each character or something like that, but, well, that would suck, so forget I said anything. So here we are. There are the tribal rugs, curtains on the windows, the jukebox. If you had any questions about how strong Coyote is, he carried it over and installed it before I could get here with my light armor perk. The fireplace comes with the house. It's not an upgrade, but it's one of my favorite things. In here, workbench, reloading bench, lots of containers for sorting loot, and a terminal. Oh, maybe this is... Yeah, the bullet train is here, so it says ready to board, but I bet that remote dispatch thing in the maintenance facility unlocked an option to call it here if it's somewhere else. Cool. And, table's a bit scruffy, but I definitely like that way better than the Formica thing. And while we're in the kitchen, it's not obvious from a casual glance because they look the same as static cupboards in other places, but these are actually containers you can use to store crafting ingredients or whatever. Nice shiny fridge. Fire extinguisher. It's getting dark, which is actually cool because it reminds me individual lights in every room. The Wardromatic is in the master bedroom, along with some more containers, dressers, and a safe. The bed does give you the well-rested bonus, by the way, unlike the beds at Lollipops. A little guest bedroom here. If you have companions who sandbox, they'll use it. Let's see. I showed you the living room and the workshop. Oh, the bathroom. Very nice. This wardrobe, well, the shower works. It gets rid of the foul smell you pick up from a later objective, but sandboxing companions will also use it sometimes, and the wardrobe holds their stuff while they're in the shower, so it's the only container in the house that isn't safe to store your own loot. You can drink from the toilet tank like most toilets in the game, but this is rad-free. And I mentioned in my last walkthrough, real life, if your tap water is safe to drink, so is the water in your toilet tank. It never touches the poop. I've brushed my teeth with it when the water main was shut off in my neighborhood. Just something good to know in a pinch. You don't want to drink from the bowl unless it's a real life or death emergency. And here's the fun thing about the toilet. If you activate the bowl instead of the tank, you sit. But I can't poop with you guys watching. Speaking of dual-purpose items, I almost forgot to show you the oven. Activate it, you get a menu, select cook something, and you get the crafting menu like any campfire. I don't have any ingredients on me right now, but you get the idea. Pick open the oven, and it's another container you can use to store stuff. What's in the fridge? Banana yucca fruit and grilled mantis. Good stuff. All right, I'm going to call it a day, get some sleep, have a healthy breakfast, and some rad-free water in the morning, and we can get back on the trail of who killed Fresca Koi next week. See you then.